Know this. Introducing the original blood clot podcast, not players. Soothing semantic. Special dedication. All the way from New York. Boom. Yeah, man. SWOT semantic. Yeah, me know. Boom. Soothing semantic. Yeah, me know. Big ups to the man now. Soothing semantic.
On another episode of Soothing Semantics, I am your host, Rafi Pinsky, and today we have Peter Santanello on the podcast. How's it going, Peter?
Very well, very well. Thank you.
Awesome. My pleasure. How's it been in Florida so far?
Oh, man, it's like freedom. Feels amazing.
Yeah, and compared
Really?
to San Fran?
Oh, yeah. That's like North Korea right now.
What were your experiences like getting off the plane the first couple of minutes, being in the airport?
You know a pressure cooker?
Sure.
So it's like living in San Francisco, it's like you're living inside of that,
Mm-hmm.
and then the lid just came off. And it's like, okay. Nice. People are human here. People look at each other. They're smiling. Even in the airport, people have masks, but there's an energy that can be felt.
Sure.
So the energy in San Francisco is just pure fear, through and through everything.
How so?
Walking down the street, I'm not going to wear a mask if I'm not around people outside. I find that to be a bit ridiculous, but I'll do it out of respect to others. If they're coming down the street, we're coming down a sidewalk together. I have one of those neck masks. I pull it up. I mean, not everyone, but a lot of people, go to the other side of the street. They'll step into a garden,
Mm-hmm.
in a little driveway to like give you, 10, 15 feet. Again, not everyone, but it's this weird thing. I hope there's some behavioral scientists that are documenting this and going to write books about it there, because something happens to people's psychology when it goes on for this long.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. My wife and I extended our time here a week just for sanity.
Watch you end up staying here for good. So when are you actually
Maybe.
going back?
We're going back in a week from today.
Oh man, you
Yeah.
dreading it?
I haven't thought about it, but now, yeah. Thank
Dude,
you.
Miami's great, man. It really, like I said before the podcast, it depends on the pros and cons. For me, there are very few. You know what I hear a lot? Oh, the summers are too hot.
Yeah.
Okay, air conditioning. I don't know. For me, I'd rather warm winters and hot summers than freezing winters and hot summers. Like in
Okay.
New York, where I'm from, it's not as if the summer's much better at all. It's a couple of degrees lower.
Yep.
The humidity is just as bad, and the winters are freezing cold. So I don't know, like people always shit on Miami for having very,
Right.
and it's very strange to me. I don't know.
Look, it is paradise in California. I got to say, the geography
Yeah, it's
is
beautiful.
beautiful. Like where I live is beautiful. If it wasn't so nice, I'd be out of there in a second.
Mm-hmm.
So there'll be a tipping point. If it goes on like this for, the next 6 months and society's going more down the drain, I'll get out of there.
Yeah, I really do think it's just the landscape. Otherwise, I don't know why you would live there.
Look, there's a lot culturally. There's a lot going on. Before the pandemic, it's a cool city. San Francisco is a great world city.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot going for it, or it did have a lot going for it. But now the politics are so in the drain that it's not so enjoyable.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, other than San Francisco.
Yeah, I'm not selling.
No, I
Francisco
got you
anymore.
for sure, 100%. Peter, for any of you who don't know, and I'm sure many of you who watch my podcast at this point do know, you're huge in the Jewish community, man. You're extremely popular. It's wild. You're like an Italian Jewish sensation. So Peter has been making videos, and I'm going to drop the links of several communities in New York. Okay, as far as I know, you haven't done it outside of New York, have you?
I went to Muncie.
Muncie's a whole different animal.
Yeah.
Brooklyn is loud, crazy, intense. Muncie's a lot more relaxed.
Right.
Did you find the Hasidic Jews to be any different than the ones in Brooklyn? I know it's a funny question, but did you find that to be a thing?
Well, I didn't know anything about Hasidim beforehand, but then after spending time in Brooklyn, there's Williamsburg, which is different from Crown Heights, right?
That's a whole different Hasidic
different-
sect. Yeah, the
two different
Chabad,
worlds.
Lubavitch.
So it does definitely, Muncie doesn't feel like Williamsburg, that's for sure.
Sure. It's open. It's this space. So, but I kind of went all the way to how they were different. When you first spoke to SHLOIME,
Yeah.
how did that kind of happen?
You found me on Instagram. I was going to New York. I just put out to on my Instagram stories, like, I'm going to New York. Anyone have any interesting story ideas?
Mm-hmm.
And I try to go into cities and hit it from all different angles. I went into South Bronx. I went into Queens to, what's it called? Jamaica Heights? No. Shoot, I'm forgetting the name. Anyways, it's like a large Pakistani community, Asian community. So I try to go into cities and hit it.
So well, yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I try to go in and hit it from all different angles because that's what a city is. And we're all in our own worlds in a city. For example, you live here. You probably don't go to Hialeah, the Cuban area.
Never.
Ever. But I found that fascinating that there are all these different dynamics to a city. So, if I could hit Black New York City and then Hasidic Jewish New York City, two different universes, but they're both sharing the same air.
Sure.
Pretty cool.
Sure.
So how did I find it? Oh yeah, I put out the story and SHLOIME reached out. He said, "Hey, you want to see the Hasidic world? I'll show you." And that's right up my alley. I love to get into, sort of the new, like look, to the Hasidic world. I'm not just going to show up with a camera. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I can't just show up with a camera and expect people to open their doors because of a couple of reasons. One, historically speaking, anyone that goes into those neighborhoods with a camera usually doesn't make the nicest story.
No.
And then two, I understand. I respect it. They're like, really into their culture and don't want this whole technology thing in their face. So, not easy. So a guy like SHLOIME made it happen.
He totally flipped the script on it. That's the craziest
Yeah.
part. It's the craziest part. And to be quite honest with you, the fact that you aren't Jewish and the fact that he's such an articulate Hasidic guy made it for an incredible series.
Ah,
This is the way I perceived it.
okay.
Because, like you said, so many people give Hasidic Jews a negative light. They're different. They just look extremely different.
Right.
They tend to be quieter.
Right.
They don't interact with other people generally. But if you get to know them and you actually walk through their communities and you have conversation, you understand to a large degree why that is. And so SHLOIME explained that a lot of them have family that were Holocaust survivors.
Yeah.
So there's this sense of sticking together and not trusting people on the outside,
Sure.
which in a sense is understood, but it also creates that divide because when you're always sticking with your own and people don't understand you and think you don't want to be a part of them, it can develop that hatred.
Yeah.
Because, do you think you're better than me? Why aren't you talking to me? Why do you always ignore me when you walk by? In actuality, it's not that they have no interest in being nice to somebody that isn't Hasidic. It's that they have their values they're extremely, extremely serious about.
Yeah.
No media, certain music they don't want to be a part of, certain language they don't want to be a part of. There's a very strict code of ethics, code of law. And,
Yeah.
this is what they've held for, quite frankly, hundreds of years. I would say it started in Ukraine with a rabbi called the Baal Shem Tov.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anyone kind of went over that with you.
Yep.
So it must be in the
Uman,
600s, 700s.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Well,
Uman.
the time I don't know when it started. There isn't Hasidim somewhat of a more recent thing? Like
Yeah,
late
yeah, it's not that old.
19th century.
Yeah, it's a couple hundred years old. Well,
Yeah.
no, it's a couple hundred years old. Yeah.
So I respect all that, especially in the world we live in now. Not watching news, not getting all distracted. Look, and to be fair, it depends who you're talking to. There's a rule book. Some people follow it at this level. Some people follow it at this level. Some people follow it like in every religion, really.
Yeah, Hasidic Jews follow things to the extreme.
Not
In a
all of
sense-
them, though.
In a sense where when I say extreme, I'm not calling them extremists.
Yeah.
I'm saying that they are ultra-Orthodox and they do things they do extra. They do more than is needed, supposedly. Meaning, and that's their way of saying, God, I want to do more for you. Okay, which I think is beautiful.
Yeah.
So a lot of people see, they go, oh, they're extremists. They do everything. They want to be, in their own way, as close to God as possible. So they do certain things, for instance, that I don't deem important for myself.
Yeah.
I respect whatever they decide to do. It's just to live and let live. You know, we're family at the end of the day. I consider them family.
Yeah.
And after you did the videos about Hatzalah and Shomrim and all these things, those were all created by them. Hasidic Jews started all of those organizations. They're free. They also have another one called Misaskim. I don't know if you did any video on that?
I don't know that one.
So Misaskim that's maybe an idea for you.
Okay.
So when somebody passes away, and they do this for all Jews, doesn't matter if you're Hasidic, whatever the case is, they will provide chairs. They'll help with payments for a funeral. They will do whatever is needed. They arrange everything. If there's an issue locating the person, they'll help locate the person. They pretty much have an organization for everything.
Chaverim. I was in with those guys.
Those are awesome. They'll help you. If you're stranded, if your car breaks down in the middle of nowhere, you call them. They'll be there.
Yeah, they're awesome.
And it's completely free of charge.
Yeah.
You know how Jews are. We don't like to pay for things.
Yeah.
You know, and the Hasidic Jews are like, don't worry, we got you. You don't have to pay a penny. It's important. It's
but
special.
they're getting a lot of money, though, too. People are donating.
I mean, there are definitely wealthy people that are donating. That's the beauty of it. They have fundraisers and everything. But I'm saying the service itself, the people aren't getting paid.
Oh, yeah.
Meaning
it's all volunteer, yeah.
Hatzalah is not getting paid to go on calls and do what they do. And that is what makes it so much more effective if you think about it.
Yeah. I didn't get in with Hatzalah, unfortunately. I got in with Chaverim. I need some water for that, actually. Can I go for some?
You are more than welcome to.
Yeah, so I didn't get in with Hatzalah, unfortunately.
Okay.
But we tried, actually.
By the way, I can possibly connect you. I don't want to call him out here. I mean, he's not. Maybe his son, who's my friend, might hear this. But my very good friend's father has been the head of Hatzalah in Flatbush for years, for many, many years. He would probably be very happy to.
Well, now that I've done the series, a lot of people have come out in these different organizations, but
the Jews have come out.
I had to stop. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, hello. I'm Rabbi this and I'm Rabbi that.
It's cool. Like you
are my favorite Gentile, Peter.
Well, I was in with the rabbi. He taught me about relationships.
Oh, Matis, what was his name?
Manis Friedman.
Manis Friedman, right. What did you think about that?
It was cool. I liked him. I didn't agree with everything he said.
Can I ask what you didn't agree with?
He was saying humans aren't innately selfish, and I said, yeah, I think they are innately selfish, but it's not a bad thing, and it's maybe not. Maybe the definition of selfishness changed a little for my point, but okay, let me get to this. You're here. We're talking right now, not because my interest is in rabbits.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't reach out to me. So you're here for your selfish interest. Like I'm here because of your selfish interest, and me also, because we're connecting on something that we're both interested in. That's normal and it's human, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't say it on his.
Well, can I interject real quick?
Yeah.
I agree with you, by the way. I think that people are inherently selfish. I do believe that at the end of the day, there's a beauty in giving also. Most people, I think, when they do give, they feel great.
Yeah.
But there's also this concept of you can be selfish, but still do something. So for instance, I'm of course having you on for my own selfish reason, 100%. I'm going to definitely admit that. But hopefully you and I can both gain from this experience.
Exactly.
Although it's selfish, I don't believe it helps with both.
It raises, if it's in with the right intentions, it raises the frequency for everyone.
Right.
So I totally agree with that. But I was trying to explain to him, like, I'm only with my partner because I'm selfish, because by being with her, I'm better, and she's selfish because by being with me, she's better. That's the goal. And both of our bars rise, and we come together in a union.
That's an interesting way to look at it.
So if I made her life worse for a long period of time, depending, we're married, but let's just say not worth I know there's some bonds that will never be broken, but I bet if I was terrible for her life for 5 years in a row. She wanted to get away from me. That's selfishness, right?
I mean, dude, is she gonna find a guy that has a nice clean head? I mean, probably not.
A bald man with a shiny head.
Yeah, I
Plenty,
mean,
I've seen him all over the place.
either Mr. Clean or I'm not gonna lie to you. There's been like a friend or two of mine who mentioned. I don't know if you know.
I've heard it all.
Johnny Sins.
I get it a lot. Johnny Sins the most in Pakistan. The whole country in Pakistan knows Johnny Sins. Everyone, honestly, multiple times a day I get called Johnny Sins.
And I'll be honest with you, people in those countries always seem to know these guys more than anybody else.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I'll be honest. You really don't look like him much. I can get it. It's just really just you have the shadow and you're bald. That's all it is.
Right.
Otherwise,
It doesn't matter. I've heard it all.
It's hilarious. It's funny because a lot of the people say I look like are Italians. I mean, it makes sense because half of the genes, but yeah, I always find that funny. There's this guy Joe Santagato. Maybe you've heard of him.
No.
Pretty big YouTuber. Around my age, I would say maybe he's 29 or 30, so a little older than me. But a bunch of people have said he looks like me.
Okay.
Which is funny. So back to all of this content creation. Peter has made 13 episodes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct? And you've done all different kinds of episodes. When I say 13 episodes, I want to be specific about the Jewish community.
Hasidic Jews.
Right.
Actually.
Do you want to go into other communities?
Yeah.
You know would be very interesting? The Sephardic Jewish communities.
Yeah.
That is something. Oh, this is an awesome conversation. I'm so glad I thought of this. Americans in general, American non-Jews, they have this misconception because of the media, because most of the Jews in Hollywood, almost all of them are Ashkenazi Jews. You familiar with Ashkenazi and Sephardic Jews? Are Ashkenazi Jews. Because a lot of the Sephardic Jews live in Israel, or they're just not in media. They're not in show business. They have business. A lot of them are extremely successful,
Sure.
but they do all different kinds of things, real estate, manufacturing, whatever it is. But their stories are fascinating. There's a massive Syrian Jewish community in Brooklyn. They also have it in Deal, New Jersey. Incredible communities. And then there's Persian Jews in Great Neck, New York, big area.
A lot in LA too.
Right, a lot in LA.
Yeah.
So they're I mean, they come from all different countries, but they're a group that American non-Jews don't seem to know about.
Huh.
And there's this picture of Jews always being white.
Right.
And for you to cover that, I think would be
idea.
huge.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and they do that in movies too. They'll do the Ten Commandments. They'll make Moses white. All the Jews are white. There's no way in hell the Jews were white during that time. No chance.
Right.
Jesus, all these depictions of Jesus as a white guy with like dirty blonde hair, or whatever the case was, chances are he was very, very brown, extremely, extremely dark.
Right. He didn't come from Poland.
Right. And it doesn't make any sense. So, of course, we have Jews that are lighter skinned. I'm one of them.
Yeah.
But
that's a great idea. I'd like to do that down the road. I have to step off the Jewish content for a bit just because I have an audience from all
different
corners.
I get that.
But I like it. And I mean, Judaism, what a lot of people don't understand is it's everything from Hasidim, and then in that you have even Satmars, right? Like, which is the furthest, I'd say, on the edge there of Hasidim.
There's so many. There's literally
like 200 sects.
There's so many sects, and they have different.
But check this out. So you got from Hasidim.
Hasidim too. You see them?
Hasidim.
Hasidim too.
Okay, gotcha. All the way to like orgy tents and Burning Man Jews, right? So you have like the most liberal and the most conservative and everything in between. That's interesting.
The orgy tent Jews are actually a sect of their own. They live in random LA probably. I'm sure there might be some in Florida too. Yeah, Jews. Listen, man, all people in general are just fascinating.
Yeah,
we're such strange creatures, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes it really. I think about this, by the way. I'll especially in Brooklyn because it's so diverse. I used to sit on an area, Ocean Parkway. You might have passed by when you were around. It's where I used to live. It's just this road where cars. not even gonna explain. It's not that interesting. Anyhow, I would sit on a bench there sometimes, and I would just look at the people. I would people watch, and I would see the Hasidic Jews with their tall white socks up to their. You saw those at all?
Yeah.
You see that, and they have their big fur hats, their streimels, what they're called. And I'm just looking at them like, we're part of the same family, but we have very little in common. We not necessarily, we have some things in common, but I was like, a lot of the things we don't have in common.
Yeah.
They look completely different from me. And if I wasn't Jewish, I would think they were aliens. And then I see Pakistanis because there was also a very big Pakistani area. And they had their clothing and their shops and I'm like, we are just such strange things, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why when I see content like yours, you document it so beautifully. So by the way, I don't watch any vlogging or travel videos. You're the only one I watch.
Oh, really?
By the way. Yeah, just because you have a very relaxed nature about it, and you're you have this unbiased attitude towards everything.
I try.
Right. Now, what's going on in your head, I don't know.
Yeah.
But as far as the delivery on the outside, definitely like what you did in, I think it was Romania. It was either Romania
Ukraine,
or...
Ukraine, maybe?
No, you did one or maybe it was Hungary, I think.
Yeah.
Right. So you were doing the one in Hungary, and you went to the poor neighborhood, and they kind of were not interested in you taking pictures.
No one bad.
Yeah. And you got any bruises? Did they try to...
Did I get what?
Did they try to...
No,
mess
I
you
just
up?
left. I got this stink eye and like, get out of here, guy.
Oh, man, damn. Yeah, I saw you were talking about it after. And then you were also in the wealthier neighborhoods, and it's crazy that it shifts all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
Just, you have that anywhere. You have a beautiful neighborhood, you cross over a train track, complete garbage. And when I say garbage, I don't mean the people are garbage, but dude, it's 2021. I always clarify these things because they'll take a little snippet and be like, "Oh, you cross over the train tracks, it's garbage." You see, he called them garbage. Can you believe it?
Right.
They take any little thing you say. I'm always like, "That's not what I said." Yeah.
You can't do anything about that. You know what I mean?
I don't over justify or apologize. I've said plenty of controversial things on my podcast. I try to be respectful. People are not going to like everything I say. It is what it is.
There's no way of avoiding that. I did
is.
a series on Saudi Arabia, and I really gave a positive outlook. I had a really good experience. It was amazing.
Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, it's a very positive experience. And some woman made a video. It was amazing the amount of work she put into it. She went through all my videos, took little pieces here, made a narrative about how I was, disrespectful of the culture, whatever.
And Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, and took little snippets from here and there. And that's the magic of editing. You can make any story you want.
How in the world did I've seen a lot of your videos. I have not once heard you say anything that was derogatory or rude or racist at all.
Right, but that's my point. It's
What in
like
the
no matter
world?
what right now, unless you sound...
She probably did it for views, honestly, man. I can't understand what else what she got out of it otherwise.
It's just unless you have the most careful speech with nothing any bit interesting in it. If someone wants to, they can make you sound however
Fuck
they
it,
want.
dude. But but then you lose.
That's not a way to live, and that's idiotic. I'm not going to live like that.
Hell no. Especially if you have a platform and you have a voice, you have a large viewership. You're gonna have people that don't like you. It's part of life. I mean, that's what happens. It's just a known rule of life. The further you get along the journey of wherever you're going, the more haters you're gonna have.
You know what's surprising though, to be honest, this Hasidic series, I honestly thought there'd be a lot more hate in the comments. There's always some. And I always worry about that because if I'm into someone's home or in their life, especially if they've never done it before, they're being exposed to the world. And then if people go at them hard, I feel terrible because I open that up to their lives. And there was really not much negativity.
It's the first thing I noticed, by the way.
I don't know if Yahoo or not Yahoo, YouTube is censoring negative comments better, or it's just, I don't know. It was really bizarre.
I think they were really positive.
Yeah, they're mostly positive.
Because quite frankly, and this is a really big praise to Hasidic Jews, they have a lot of wonderful things about them.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of, and we're opening a whole can of worms here. A thing more about Ashkenazi Jews and Sephardic Jews is they tend to be very gentle. They're not aggressive. They're not loud. They tend to be quiet. I mean, obviously you have, you have Ashkenazi Jews who are loud and whatever,
Right.
but they tend to, they're very peaceful. They're never going to get into a fight with people. It's not their thing. So when it comes to standing up for themselves, quite frankly, they're not the greatest at it. Whether they're Hasidic or not, it's just not in their nature.
Yeah.
Sephardic Jews, however, they're more hot-headed. They're more confident, to be quite honest with you, as a whole. And I know it's a big generalization, but a lot of Ashkenazi Jews will agree with it. It's just a known thing. Israelis, darker skinned. It's not about their skin. It's just everything I'm saying can be misconstrued.
Yeah.
It's just a nature thing, and each has its pros and cons, and that's why, as a Jew, it's so beautiful to see because we all complement each other.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Hasidic Jews, for instance, they tend to feel very isolated because that's how they grow up. They grow up very insular. So when for instance, when someone in a store, I don't know, so let's say a Hasidic Jew bumps into someone at a store. Yeah. Hasidic Jew might have totally did it accidentally, but the other person will say, "Yo, what the fuck, dude? Why'd you push me?" I would, if it were me, I'd be like, "Dude, it was an accident. Relax." Right? I would, I would stand up for myself, but I'd be like, "Dude, all good." A Hasidic Jew would be so uncomfortable with that whole altercation, he would kind of just look with a blank stare, and that would give this person more of this power trip, like, "Oh, look how scared he is of me. Let me continue to make something out of nothing." You get what I'm saying? It's a weird psychology, but some people get off from that.
Yeah, but it also can be looked at as like a rudeness.
I hear you.
So, for example, my only run-in with a Hasidic Jew before this whole series was some guy that like just cut me off in line, like brushed by me, was rude. That was my only experience. And so, two things I get out of this. One, I just moved back from Eastern Europe, from Ukraine. I'm totally used to the Slavic style. Nobody's going to give you a fake smile. No one's going to go out of their way for anything. But then it's very genuine. Like, people let you in. It's very real. It's very genuine. Very much like the Hasidic Jews. So I think that clashes a bit with American culture, where it's all about being polite, keeping the door open for someone. If you step on someone's toes, "Excuse me, I'm sorry, I apologize." And so if someone doesn't do that, it's looked at as very rude.
Completely.
I get
It's a
both
difference in
sides
culture.
because I've lived in Europe, in Eastern Europe. I'm obviously from here, so I get both sides. No, I don't take it personally, but before I would have taken it more personally.
I've taken it personally. I was a
Yeah.
waiter, and I was a waiter for years in the Hasidic community, and honestly, sometimes I didn't have such a good experience. Other times I've had a great experience. Ultimately, I think it's very important to have manners.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's a purpose, it's a malicious thing at all. It's just a matter of culture. At the end of the day, that's not an excuse for me. I'm a pretty balls to the wall, direct person in this kind of sense, where I don't really excuse a lack of manners. It's very important. Manners are very important to me. However, I'm just as quick to criticize like really anybody, myself, whatever. Ultimately, I think please and thank you are important. I think holding a door open for someone is important. At the end of the day, I'm not going to just apologize for the sake of apologizing either. If someone just is upset at me for the sake of being upset at me, the point really, the gist of all this is there's definitely a difference in culture. For instance, in Arab culture, they can be very harsh and very aggressive.
Yeah.
But when it comes to inviting you into their house, they are some of the warmest people in the world.
Yeah.
They will give you everything. So with Sephardic culture, for instance, where a lot of Jews are from Arab countries initially, well, Jews listening to this will say, "Oh, but we're all from Israel." Okay, but say in the past, 1,000 years or so, whatever it is, say you're Jews from Syria, Morocco, or whatever, they have that same Arab mentality where they're aggressive, they're tough.
Yeah.
They'll tell you exactly what they think to your face. So you'll see that with Israelis. If you go to Israel and you interact with the Sephardic Israelis, they're not going to necessarily say please and thank you and whatever. They're gonna tell you things. They're not going to ask. They're going to make more statements. So for a lot of Americans, it's very it's very rude and disrespectful. But if you ever need anything, they see that you collapsed on the floor, if you were dehydrated, they run and help you.
Yeah.
So it's a difference in culture. I don't know. I like to think that I'm pretty intuitive about these things, and obviously I'm human. I judge sometimes. I'm not perfect, but
Yeah.
yeah, man. It's definitely interesting though, because people, like I said, man, people are a trip, man. I was just showing somebody a video of, I think it was in China. There's a penis parade in China. Totally went off topic here, but like that's just, humans are wild, man.
Yeah,
Like that would never. That's accepted in their culture.
Yeah.
They have a parade, right? In Hasidic culture, that would be hell on earth.
Yeah.
That would be the worst thing in the world. They're, not even for just Hasidic kids. For most parents, they wouldn't want their kids to see that.
Yeah.
But that, it's wild how with culture, certain things are completely fine if even praised, and in other cultures they're like, how could you do that? That's horrible. Marrying your daughter off young, or marrying your daughter right away, or arranged marriage. I'm not doing arranged marriage. I don't want my kids to do arranged marriage. If it happens, they get set up, whatever. So there's a lot of, we all have our differences.
Yeah.
And that's what you have definitely brought to the world, man.
Well, I mean, people do what their fathers or grandfathers did. If you're in a penis parade, most likely your dad or grandfather was.
Do you remember those days? Remember those days? I still have the same penis float in the garage. It's inflatable. You see him just. Okay, you got one.
I don't know what that comes from. Where does that come from? Is that Pee Wee Herman?
Oh, my impression. I don't know. I do a lot of impressions, man. I've been doing them in a bunch of episodes already. I do a German. I do my Italian's all right. I can do some sort of Spanish. I do a great Arab, great Israeli. Those are like two of my best ones. I'll show you later on my phone. I got some good ones. And yeah, I love doing it. I want to do voiceover, random, strange voices for voiceover. I don't know. It's fun for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy it. So we'll see. But otherwise, what are some projects that you're thinking of getting into?
I really want to get into the Amish community. That's going to be a tough crack. The Native Americans, the Inuits.
You think the Amish will let you in?
I don't know. I'm working on it. I have an in, supposedly.
Oh, really?
An in. I want to get into like hardcore inner city America.
Wait, can I warn real quick? What I would kill to see is the Amish that go off, when they're 18, they get to kind of do their own thing.
Yeah.
To see like that lifestyle. So have you ever heard of Vice, the documentary, the journalists?
Yeah.
I love Vice.
Yeah.
Huge Vice fan. So they are amazing at interviewing the wackiest people. They interview cartel members, ISIS members, mercenary. I mean, they interview them all, and they'll always kind of a lot of the time they'll make their voices. They'll fuck around with the voices so you don't know who's who. If you can get this Amish, I don't know, this barn where they're all partying and they're like, well, we don't want to do any of that Amish shit anymore. We just want to be normal,
Yeah, but here's the
I'm generalizing.
I like it for the fun side, but here's the danger. I'm the outsider. I go in. I show that side of their culture. I'm the ass. Just like if I went to the Hasidic world and I'm like, here's the person that broke free and gave the culture the middle finger.
Yeah,
and now they're partying with their friends.
I completely hear that, man. Completely hear that.
It's a hard balance, honestly. Like I want to go in and like let what they do breathe to the world, or let their voices come out.
Yeah, that's been your work.
So the Amish, I'd want to go in delicately.
I got you.
You know what I mean?
And to be honest,
because I know that would be more popular for sure. That would get more.
It always is.
More
See, that's
people.
what's crazy about human psyche, man. We're a lot more fascinated by the not necessarily the wrongs, but like the dangers or the evils or like the things that don't go.
That's how we're hardwired.
Why is it? I think it's
because there was a threat in the days of yore. It's the tribe coming over the hill that looks different than you, and it puts you in fear. Like you had to protect your tribe. And so the negative is what made you move, whatever that might be. Could lead to starvation if you're not on guard. It could lead to the ball of your tribe. I mean, as Jews know, I don't need to
Sure.
tell you that.
Sure.
Like, you have to be on guard. So, smelling the roses per se doesn't get your attention as much.
100%, because it's all pleasant. There's no worry. There's no anxiety. It doesn't get your blood pumping.
Exactly.
And another thing I was talking about with a guest I had on a while back was this idea of film, for instance. So in film, we love John Wick, or we like Jason Statham, just wrecking people, just smashing people over the head with anything. Versus a rom-com where, I mean, half the theater might be full of women watching rom-com, sharing a box of tissues, but that's not going to sell out.
Yeah.
Generally. Human beings love these things. I mean, like UFC, that blew up.
Yeah.
We just like it. We like the dangers, the excitements. We're fascinated by gangsters, mobsters, all of these things. The Cruella de Vil's, because that's in 2021. As much as we have the pandemic, and all of these things. I love that, by the way. I still, whenever I call it a pandemic now, I'm always like, okay. Anyhow, we're not going to go into that now. As far as, let me get back to my train of thoughts. Yes. So with all of the movies, there are, why I just had like a blank moment.
No, here's something for you. Check this out. So back to the Amish story.
Okay.
If I go in, here's something weird that happens, I think. Let's say I'm not Jewish.
You're not? I kind of
No.
figured.
I don't think I am. So
Never know.
let's just say, like, whatever I'm a WASP would be the easiest. White Anglo-Saxon Protestant.
Okay.
It makes people happy when they look at something that's different enough and perceived it in a negative, like Hasidim or the Amish.
Mm-hmm.
They're repressed. They're without. And to see the story that confirms that. So if I show the kids partying, like, screw everything, we're out of this. This all sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It makes people happier to see. It confirms their bias. Same with the Hasidic Jews. If I went in and I showed, the rave parties of Hasidim, and they broke free, it would be like, oh, that's right. They were totally living the terrible life. Now they're free. They're like us, and it makes you feel better, right? The viewer. And so again, it's delicate balance. All of this stuff, but I'm not telling anyone what to think about Hasidim. You can think what you want to think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to show the people SHLOIME brought me into. These are their stories. Take it for what it is.
Sounds like SVU.
SVU.
Law and Order. You ever watch them?
Forever ago.
These are their stories. You familiar? You remember that? Remember that
No.
kind of slow in the beginning?
No.
Well, these are their stories. Anyway, my grandmother was crazy about it. Okay,
The
go on.
dedicated detectives who investigate these vicious felonies are members of an elite squad known as the Special Victims Unit. These are their stories.
Okay, go on. I figured.
So
Yeah.
my point is, it's like, what is my point? My point is, look, you can take anything I want, how I'm showing it, but there's all sorts of bad stuff going on for sure, and I try to make that obvious in my videos and state that I'm not going to go in some family that has domestic abuse going on and like run the camera on that.
It's crazy though, because that would blow up.
Of course, it exists everywhere.
Yeah.
But I just thought with Hasidim, it was like 99% of everything about them that I've seen online or read is negative. Okay, they're human.
Mm-hmm.
Let's show something else. And I was brought into that naturally. I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, it's amazing. SHLOIME did it. SHLOIME really, I'm so impressed. I'm proud of him.
Awesome.
He's a phenomenal guy.
He made Hasidim look cool.
Oh, dude, he's so good at it. Dude, he damn, dude. He did such a good job.
You guys should give him some medal, some award.
We should. We have to put something together. No, he did a phenomenal job, man. What's called in Hebrew Kiddush Hashem, or as Americans say, Kiddush Hashem. They kind of how would I say it? Englishize it. It's not a word, but they bastardize it.
Yeah.
They kind of, like, for instance, Mazel Tov is really Mazal Tov.
Okay.
But we say Mazel Tov. It's like a Barbra Streisand kind of thing, where it's a lot of it is Jews in Hollywood. They can't pronounce the Hebrew, so they say it in an English way.
Oh, okay.
It's a thing. We have a lot of words like that, and non-Jews, they don't know any better, so they just pronounce it the same way. So they go Mazel Tov. It's not Mazel Tov. It's Mazal Tov. So that's how it's supposed to be pronounced. Anyway, but that's a whole separate conversation. But Shloime did incredibly. I mean, the comments, like we spoke about it, phenomenal comments.
Yeah.
Tons of what was really nice to see, and it's not any surprise to me. It's just that the media pushes this nonsense. Tons of Muslims were saying, we're talking about, I have Jewish neighbors, they're lovely, this and that. They're so similar to us. We have so many similarities. I didn't realize it. I had no idea. Flooded with beautiful comments. And I think at the end of the day, man, negativity sells, but it's a cheat. It's a cheating way to do it. And if you couldn't promote positivity, it might be a little bit more difficult to do, but in the long run, it's work. Dude, it's work for you.
Whatever you do, you turn into eventually.
Right.
So if my whole shtick is just going on the dark and the negative, that's who I become. Like if I'm a news anchor for one of the big networks, if you're a news anchor for CNN or, CBS or something, and you gotta sort of play this narrative, and then I think that's what you become, no matter what you're in. If you do it long enough, you're spending most of your waking hours in it. That's who you are. So it's a conscious choice by mine of like, who do I want to be and how do I want to live this life? Do I want to go in and see the cool things? And honestly, it's sort of like therapy for me, especially in these times, to go into these stories versus go into the hardcore negative, because then I'll lose my bearings and I'll just go downhill.
100%.
I know I will. So 100%. If I can go into on these journeys and go into an interesting story that people can learn something from, for a selfish reason, I do it because this is how I live. I'm very curious about other people, so I can learn something from. I can get something out of it, and then if I can bring the viewer into that and they get something out of it, then cool, and I can make a living out of it, then awesome. Then it works.
100%. I like what you said. You were mentioning that there's so much negativity going on as it is now.
I don't want to add to that.
Exactly. That makes so much sense. And you're talking about how what you focus on expands. There's something that I actually I'm throwing a quote from the real estate company I work with. What you focus on expands. Yeah. It's just about manifestation. Yeah. And really just the situation you put yourself in and the things you focus on day in and day out become who you are. And the more that as you get older, it's really wild when you realize that how powerful the brain is and all of these subconscious things that happen. The people you hang out with.
It compiles on itself. It's like interest.
Yeah.
Or you're in real estate.
Compound
it's like
interest.
Owning properties, and eventually they start to compile on themselves.
Domino effect, man. It just piles and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. If you focus on positivity, not complaining, it gets better.
But at the end of the day, you're also, if I'm invited by Shloime into his community, and I'm not cool, then I'm just an ass at the end of the day. Because he was cool to me and everyone else was cool to me. So I'm just an ass. And that's how a lot of journalists are.
Well, listen.
And I'm not, by the way, I'm not a journalist. I don't pretend to be a journalist. This isn't a hard-hitting story. To be a true journalist, you really should be very objective and be going into both sides of the story. And I'm not a journalist. I'm just like documenting what I see.
That's the best part, by the way. You don't come off as one at all. Yeah. You come off like an everyday Johnny Sins. Okay. That's just documenting life on Brazzers. It's great that most people don't. A lot of people know what this is. Anyway, live a little, life short. Okay. Anyhow, you seem like just a relaxed, very positive, happy person that wants to learn. That's what it seems like when I watch your videos. You're walking around, you're documenting what you see, you're interacting with people, you're making nice conversations, and you're just simply giving your positive spin on what's going on. And I call it a positive spin because there's so much negativity. Yeah. That's all I see. I don't see you going, well, we are in Bucharest and there are horrible police here and they are arresting people. You're kind of like, and this is kind of what I see. This is a beautiful neighborhood in Bucharest, and these homes seem to be a little more on the pricey end, and this building here seems to have this Greek architecture. Like that's how you kind of talk.
Sounds pretty boring, actually. Now that you
It's
tell
not, dude.
Right.
Well,
I bring out some stuff that's
people,
controversial. But.
Some people will find history and art and all those things very boring, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Listen, you're putting yourself out, hopefully in front of, you've already gotten millions of views on some of your things, in front of millions of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's really crazy, by the way. It's wild to talk to someone who has millions of people watching you. It's wild, no? Do you ever think about that?
You know, it's interesting. I remember when I started this, I saw someone who had 27,000 followers, and I'm like, whoa, they hit it huge.
Right.
And then when I had 27,000, it didn't really mean anything to me. And now I look, my channel's nothing compared to some channels. It's really nothing. So then it's
Peter,
this
it's
weird,
quite impressive, my
It's
friend.
this weird thing, though, in our psyche. Where so
Lack of satisfaction. When you get there, you're
there's
kind of
never
like,
enough, right? But you got to try to keep that in check. I think the Hasidic Jews keep that in check pretty damn well.
yeah, and
They're not on the constant acquire of things. Maybe I bet there's some that collect minivans though. They all have minivans.
This has been a joke for any Jew in Brooklyn, Hasidic or non-Hasidic. The minivan business is simply alive because of Hasidic Jews. It's crazy. Honda Odyssey.
That's the go-to.
The Honda Odyssey is the go-to minivan. It is the go-to car. Honda, I'm sure they have stats, dude. I would love to see the stats.
And then if you
Like
if you
the
have
numbers, the Hasidic, like just how many Honda Odysseys sold in New York and who are the buyers.
50%.
Finkelstein, Goldstein, Goldman, blah, 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 blah. And like they're all, I guarantee you, the large majority.
Yeah.
Large majority. Probably well into the 80s or 90s, dude.
And then if someone runs into a little more money and they have the midlife crisis, they get the big Suburban blacked out.
Yeah.
Right.
So a lot of Hatzalah guys,
Okay.
they don't want to drive like an ambulance. They don't have a million ambulances. They cost a
Right.
fortune. So a lot of Hasidic Jews are part of it. It's in good faith, but it's something that's seen as cool. It's this, instead of being a basketball player, you're a Hatzalah guy. You're like the cool guy.
Right.
So there's this shtick, as you said before, where you get fancy lights. So you'll see, it's hilarious. I still think it's beautiful. At the end of the day, they're doing something beautiful. So I don't hate on it.
Yeah.
But I joke about it. We make fun of it. So you have like all these fancy schmancy lights all over the car. Like I'm talking like the car is lit up like a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And they're flying 60 miles an hour in like a 15-mile-an-hour zone. And all the lights are going all over the place. And you see the guy like, it's hilarious. It's like,
I love it.
It's adorable,
I love it.
And they have the Suburban and the Tahoe and the what's it called? The Escalade.
Yeah.
They're talking about these huge black cars, and like the door opens and it's like this, this like nice Hasidic guy, kind of like a little chubby or a little skinny, whatever. And he gets out and he's like, he does this thing, but it's awesome because it's part. They're a part of my family. I really do. I consider them to be a part of my family.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's just like it's just another cultural thing. The Sephardic Jews have their funny stuff, and everyone's got their own.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I grew up in a small town. We actually had that. We didn't have the Hasala, but we had a volunteer ambulance service, and all these guys took it very seriously like that. It's pretty cool. It's purpose. People want purpose.
100%.
I get it.
That's why I did
They're
that.
needed.
Yeah.
They show up. They feel good about helping people. It's like what everyone needs, really.
And I think, we go back to being inherently selfish. That's a very controversial topic because a lot of people will disagree with that. And a lot of people would be like, "Oh, well, you speak for yourself. Like you're inherently selfish." People might like just.
Okay, what about this? You're going down in the plane. You put the oxygen mask on yourself first, so you can help those.
I love that example.
So, if what if you just got to break it down mathematically? What if by doing that, there's a 33% chance that you didn't get it, on that person next to you in time, right? Like, so what if you broke down the numbers where actually you would 100% guarantee their survival if you gave them the mask first, and 70% chance guarantee their survival if you took the mask first? What do you do then?
I can easily answer that, and I think the likelihood is if they are able to put the mask on themselves, they'll do it. I think it's really just the panic of if everyone tried to put a mask on the other person, it would be a lot more difficult because naturally, this kind of proves your theory. This proves your theory.
You're going down and play. So if it was my wife, and I could guarantee her survive, I would put it on her first.
Okay.
I'd put it on her.
I don't know if you. I think you're going against your own human nature, though, dude. Because I think naturally your immediate thought process is, and it's not about not like if there were bullets flying and there was a kid or an adult that I knew was not used to any kind of violent experience, and I would jump on top. I've never been in that situation, but I strongly believe I would. I really do.
Yeah.
But with an oxygen mask, and that whole thing's happening, I've never been in that situation, but I think that very few people in a circumstance on a plane where the plane's going down and they gotta, God forbid, they gotta put the mask on, most people have no idea what to do, and I know that for a fact because no one fucking listens to the stewardess when they give the whole instruction.
Sure.
So most people will be in a complete panic. If you are the 1 out of 5 people that was actually listening even once and remembers what to do, you should put it on first because then you can go and help people. Even if you can't get that far, you have yours on. You say you can yell, "Everyone relax! Try to relax." I don't know. That probably wouldn't help, but everyone take the mask, put it on yourself first. Whatever the case is, you hopefully can help them if you have it on. But I don't know, that's my thought process because most of the people would be absolutely clueless. Yeah. Everyone would be frantic and screaming and crying. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it's just it's not really the best example, to be honest. But I'm just saying, the people working in the selfish ways. That's a long conversation.
It's very difficult to kind of.
But it's not it's not a bad thing.
Well, it could be.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying.
It's hard, man.
It's probably not worth your podcast to get into that.
That's hard to that's hard to get into, man, because people misconstrue that. And yeah, man, there are people that are, but anyways. Yeah. With that being said, I mean, we covered, I'd like to say we covered a lot of ground. What do you think?
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely, sir. So, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed this episode with Peter. I know I definitely did. Follow Peter on YouTube. He has an incredible YouTube channel. I will drop the link.
Thank you.
Follow him on Instagram as well. Do you have any other pages you'd want people to check you out?
It's just Peter Santanello, Facebook too, but all my stuff's on YouTube.
Right. And I implore you guys to check out all his videos, and definitely, because we discussed it, check out the videos he's done in the Jewish communities. Also check out again, SHLOIME ZIONCE'S page. I'll drop that again. I might as well because you guys have collaborated. Thank you so much for coming, man. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. Absolutely. Guys, stay tuned. As always, every Monday, we have new guests. And that is that. Take care, guys.